First of all, I just want to welcome you all to the Basics of E-Business. On Teams is a link to the syllabus. I want you all to to check that from time to time, because think about that as basically like a single point of truth. Has anyone heard that term before? Anything referred to as a single point of truth? In business, that's a really important concept, because if you think about it, there's so much information all over the place. So how do we know what's accurate? Well, it's to designate something as the authority. And so what's in the syllabus is going to be have the updated schedule if there's any changes. I'm going to make the change about changing our room number and things like that. If you notice anything that seems to contradict, and there have been mistakes in my syllabi before, so let me know, I'll correct them, but that's where you always go to find out what we're doing. You'll see a complete schedule and everything that you need to know about the course there. So this is a course about thinking, not memorization. We're going to try and develop strategic thinking skills about your approach to digital businesses. Now, you all have different plans. Some of you don't have plans. Some of you do have plans. You're all going to be creating a digital business strategy. So we're going to be covering different topics that go into having a solid digital strategy. And what you're going to create is going to be something that you could use if you're talking to a potential employer, if you're looking for a business loan. Whatever you plan to do with your career, this should be something that you can use. Now, the course is actually two parts, right? We have the lecture portion, and then we also have the exercise portion. So these are two separate courses. So you're going to get a grade in each. You're going to get a grade in the lecture portion, and you're going to get a grade in the exercise portion. But we're going to treat them as one. So we're going to, each session after today, starting next week, will be one module. We're going to cover one topic. And there's essentially 4 classes, 2 next week and 2 the week after. Each one of these sessions, we're going to tackle one area of digital business. So even though there are 2 classes, forget what it says in the schedule. It's like from 15:15 to whatever is lecture, from 16:45 or whatever is exercise. No, it's going to be combined. So you won't have to sit for an hour and a half of lecture, and then you won't have to work on exercises for an hour and a half. There'll be a lecture portion, there'll be a discussion portion, and there'll be an exercise portion, all within 1 hour. In addition, you're going to be creating a workbook. The workbook will be like a journal. If you can't be here, there's a way that you can still pass the class, and I'll get into that. Now, for the exercises, that's where you're going to create this digital business strategy. And that's something that you'll be working on throughout the semester, and each module is going to lead in or be a part of what you're going to put into your strategy, your digital business strategy. If you can't be here, or you don't really participate, you can still pass. But it's at that point, it's just going to be like pass or fail. Yeah, I can't give you more than a 3. If you're only turning in a workbook and your business strategy, then you could only get a passing grade. But I know I'm not talking to the people here in this room, but if anyone who wants to take part in this course who isn't here, you can pass, but you absolutely can also fail. No one in any of my classes passes if they haven't shown up, if they haven't read any of the study guides or the other materials that I provide, if they don't turn in the assignments, and then contact me at the end of the semester and tell me how desperately they need to pass this class. That does not get you a passing grade in this class. Everyone that's in your class can pass, but everyone can also fail. I don't want to see that, and I don't think that will be the case for any of you here. I'm quite sure it won't be. Because if you're here and you're participating, and this is going to be so easy for you, you can not only pass, but you can get a really good grade. And you can get a good work product out of this, which will be that business strategy that you will create. So if you're here and you're participating, you'll have an easy time. You'll be guided through the process to get a passing grade or an even higher grade. What I touched on is this 60-minute focus rule. After today, during our 60-minute focus, I'm going to ask you all to actually not even have your electronics on your desk. So I'll ask you to turn off your iPads, your iPhones, or at least put them into airplane mode, not on vibrate mode. But you'll just have a notebook, just like yours, and a pen, and I'll get into why we're going to do it that way. But this is really essential, doing this just 1 hour of really focused work. So that means also that if you can't make it and be seated with your notebook and your pen in that 15-minute window at the start of the class, that's okay, no judgment. But please don't come in after that point, okay? Just wait till the next module. Because once we start, like we're talking right now, that would destroy the focus that we have to have someone coming in. And then there's almost like, well, first of all, there's just a disruption of that person coming in. But then it's almost like you have to get them up to speed on what's going on. And it really breaks this focus that we have. So please, I just ask you to respect that. I won't judge you if you can't make it. And they're good excuses. The tram could be delayed. There could be some traffic accident on the way. You could have to work late at work or whatever. You can have good excuses. Believe me, I trust that you have a good excuse. But think of this as a train. If the train has left the station and you show up 5 minutes after the train left with a really good excuse, the train is still gone. So please just keep that in mind. I have had, with other classes, have to lock the door. I'd rather not do that. I'd rather just trust everyone here that if you show up, you see, oh, I'm a minute late, just don't come in, please, okay? The only required material for this class is a notebook just like yours. Did you get that because you saw that in the syllabus, or do you actually just have those?
She all the time has them.
She always has. That's perfect.
This a business lecture notebook.
Yeah.
This my calendar.
Yeah. Could I hold that up? Could I just hold up one of your? Yeah. So this is perfect. This is like an A5 size notebook. and just about 60 pages or so lined, and some pens, okay? I recommend several pens, some colored pens. You can buy these at Flying Tiger for like 12 zloty. You can get like 3 little notebooks. So I don't think you'll spend more than 5 to 20 zloty for this class, but for next week, please have the notebook, pens with you, and please, again, when you come in a little bit early or right on time, and we'll have 15 minutes. You can have your tablets out, your phones out. We can talk about whatever, anything you want to talk about. But then when I say, okay, let's get going, please just put all that away and have your pens and your notebooks out, and we'll go ahead and get going. So linked on the syllabus is a study guide that I created. That's all that you need for this class. It's very, I hope, approachable. It's not really very technical. I kind of create different scenarios, different business scenarios, and describe how we use different sort of techniques and processes, but in very real circumstances. So you're not just learning a bunch of theory, but you're understanding how to apply it to very specific situations. So everything, it's linked in the syllabus, and it's there for you for free. Now, let's talk about your digital business plan, or actually strategy is what I'm really calling it now. It's going to be reality-based. So you might think about something that applies to you. If you're interested in maybe some sort of a service business like online tutoring, then maybe that's what you do a business plan. If you're interested in being a pastry chef, maybe you'll do some sort of a business strategy for a pastry shop that's going to have a digital presence. Create something that is meaningful to you, that you'll enjoy working on for these 4 sessions. And each module that we do will end up being one part of your business strategy. Now, whatever you do pick, it should be something that you can research. It's a real company. If you're going to make something up, it's a little bit more difficult to make that really feel grounded. So if you're going to create, for example, a new pastry shop, we should discuss how you're going to make that real enough. But maybe you'll find a pastry shop that doesn't have a strong digital presence, or maybe they have an Instagram page, but they're not selling online. And they could actually, you can think that, well, if I can place orders and pick up there at the pastry shop, that would be like a digital strategy for that business. So something that you can research yourself. You don't need to know the people that run the business. You could just actually learn what you can from maybe their social media account, their website, make intelligent assumptions about that business. But the more real you can make it, the easier it will be. And you certainly don't need to get like permission from anyone. You're just using this internally to create this business strategy. And a really important part of this is that it's going to be specific enough that it's actually actionable. Actionable means something like, for example, you're not going to just say to improve we're going to improve the social media presence. But you say like post 5 times a week on Instagram and TikTok, these sorts of messages, organic or paid, and things like that. So there are 5 components that go into this, and we'll go into them in detail later, but they go everything from, first, you're going to analyze the business. And we're going to do this in our first module, like an analysis of the business that you're picking. and we're going to figure out what's the digital opportunity for that business. Then we'll work on a strategy and how you're going to position that business. This is all progressive. We're going to take it step by step. Before our next session, on the syllabus, there's a place to book office hours with me. I'm going to ask all of you to talk to me about what you want your business strategy, what business you want to pick for that, and why it's meaningful to you. And if I kind of know what you have in mind, I could help guide you as we go along. So that's really important, that you don't just wait till the last minute, but that you actually that we have this meeting between now and next week, and that you come to class next week with some idea about what you want to create a business strategy for. Now, your workbook, it's like an A5 notebook. There's like a picture of what they look like, and we showed you these right here. Each day during this focus session, you'll have your notebook out, and that's a good example of one there. I see you seem to have one too. So good. I see a lot of you already have them. But make sure that you get a notebook just for this class and for this assignment, because it should only have these, what you're going to be, the journaling that you're going to do during class in it. And each day, you'll just write the date, and we're doing module 1, so that'll be next week. And I'm going to ask you, after we've had a discussion, to do some strategic thinking about whatever it is that we discussed. And you're just going to write about that for maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes. We'll just see how it goes. And there'll be some prompts, like what would you prioritize first in Maria's digital transformation? Because we'll have these case studies that we'll talk about. I think Maria is who we talk about next week. So we'll be talking about her situation and the different options that she's looking at. And we'll talk, well, what's the best option for Maria in this case? And after we've had this discussion, we'll say, okay, so write about it, what you think for a few minutes. See, but there's no right or wrong answer. What you're being judged on is just that you're thinking about it and that you're reflecting on what we talked about. And then at the end of the day, during that last 15 minutes of class, I'm going to ask each of you, whatever you've written, just spend a minute with me. Tell me a little bit about what your thoughts were, what you wrote about. Show me a little bit of your thought process. And I'm going to make a note in your notebook that we spoke, and I'll date it, because at the end of the class, you'll turn in your notebooks. I'll give them back to you, but I'm just going to go through, and that's how I'm going to assess. I can see your thought process in the class. If you can't be here, you still need to do this. If you want to pass the class, you still need to write in the notebook. But if you're here and I mark that in your notebook, it'll count much higher than if you just turn a notebook in at the end of the semester. So if you just do it while you're here, it's going to help you get a better grade. If you can't be here, I'll be recording these sessions. You'll be able to go online. You'll get a recording of it. You'll be able to follow along whatever we did here in class. And when it comes to the prompt will be in the video, and you can just write. But believe me, that's not going to be as easy if you're doing alone versus if you're here and you've been in this and we've had a conversation about whatever the topic is. We're going to spend in 1 hour, about 20 minutes of that time will be me talking. Another 20 minutes will be us discussing. Another 20 minutes will be you writing. Does that make sense? Okay. Who here uses AI? Okay. Okay, I, the only reason I ask for a show of hands is I want to see who's lying and who's honest. Because we all do, right? Do you get grief from any professors about using AI in your classes? Do they warn you not to use AI and things like that?
Yeah, some of them.
Some do? Okay. AI is a part of life. Anything you do today, you're probably going to be called on to use AI. If you're in a business, if you're a manager or an owner of a company, you have to come up with some sort of a business strategy, you're going to use AI. And that's okay. You can do that here as well. The important thing is that AI is helping you, and it's not a replacement for you doing the work. Does everyone know the difference? Do you know what the difference is between having it help you and having it do the work for you? What is the difference?
Difference is you can ask a question about your work, or just you pass all your work. Please answer what is it.
Yeah, exactly. So you could ask AI a question about your work, about the problem that you're dealing with, help you structure, organize your thinking, or you can say, AI, write a digital strategy for a pastry business. That's the difference. So it's like, I saw an ad, well, there's many of these ads like on social media. One I saw just last week was someone says, it's a video ad. You know, I had so much to do, but I went to sleep, and when I woke up in the morning, all my ads had been created for me. They'd been posted online. My emails had been answered. So in that sort of a situation, you are redundant. If you're just using AI to create your advertising for you, to post things for you, to answer your emails, you're not a part of the equation. If you're doing this in a business, if you're doing this as an entrepreneur, you're going to create a business, you're going to use AI to help you do that. But the important thing is that you use it to help you, but you don't basically do what I call creating a word salad. Do you ever notice sometimes if you ask AI to write something, it's just words and words and words, but it's pulling from all the collected knowledge in the universe, basically. Everything that's online, it's pulling from that. It doesn't know when to stop. So if you just copy and paste a word salad, not only will it not fly in this class, but it wouldn't fly in real life. You know, you have to be the master of whatever you write. You have to know what you're saying, and you have to agree with it. So you have to be able to defend whatever it is that's in your business strategy. Now, when it comes to the work that we do in class, obviously AI is not going to be a part of that. And that's one of the reasons why we're not using our laptops or our notebooks or phones. We're just using good old-fashioned pen and paper. It's important that we create our own neural connections. And by using pen and paper and not having electronics, and we just have these discussions, and it's going to force your mind to think about something, and then it's going to send signals from your brain down your arm to your wrist, and you're going to be owning the thought process so that we know where AI ends and you begin. That's how we can use AI intelligently, because we're combining it. It's not replacing creative, strategic thinking. Some tips for success. Choose an interesting case study. That's number one. Ask for my help. if you like, make sure we pick something that's going to work really well for you and that you can live with it for the next X number of weeks. Come to class. It's a lot more interesting. And doing the work that we're going to do will be really easy, because if you feel like you might not know what to write or how you're going to handle that, we'll work through it. If you can say, hey, I'm kind of stuck, I don't know what to write about. We'll discuss it right here and now, and you will be able to do it. But if you're just doing this from home, watching a video, and say, okay, now I have to write, it's going to be much harder. So come to class. Use AI intelligently. AI is a part of your life now. It's a part of all of our lives. Use it to help you get better. Because remember, we're all either going to be replaced by AI in the very near future, or we will be the masters of AI. We will use it to be better at what we do, or we won't have a job anymore. Keep up with the deadlines. If you do a little bit of writing on your strategy after each session, between weeks, do like a draft, then putting it all together into a really solid presentation at the end of the semester will be very easy. Be thoughtful. So I'm going to really encourage you all to think about these concepts. And remember, there's no right or wrong answer. If you're unsure or you think there's no, say, well, what's the difference between these two things? And if you don't think there is a difference, then write about why you don't think there is a difference. So there's no right or wrong way. And be sure that you check in after classes, because look, I'm going to get to know all of you. I'll know if you're here or not, but I'm not going to be keeping track. If you want to get assessed for attendance and participation, I'm going to ask you to check in with me. So don't count on me looking out after you. In real life, we have to take care of ourselves. So just during our 15 minutes of class at the end, I'll come around and make sure I come to you and I look at what you wrote and we talk about it. Oh, and the other tip is, don't just turn your notebook around and say, here, this is what I wrote. Tell me what you wrote. Tell me what you were thinking. Give me a little insight into what that module, that conversation, what it meant to you. Was it clear? Are you unsure? Do you disagree? That counts. It doesn't matter what your thought process is. What counts is that you have a thought process. So check in and let me know about that and enjoy it. I really hope that this is going to be one of the most fun classes you have this semester. You might think, digital business strategy, fun? But it can be, because like I say, this is what we all do every day. We're all on Instagram and TikTok, and we're looking at, basically everyone is promoting themselves. That's a digital business. So this is one of the most practical skills that you can have going forward. You might be starting your own business. You might be interviewing for a job at a big company. You might be helping your parents out with their business and trying to transition it from a traditional business to a modern business. Having a good framework about the basics of what it is to be an e-business is going to be a really practical skill. So this is designed to be fun, engaging, and manageable. I know you have a lot on your plates, but that's why we're just going to focus on the strategic thinking about application over theory and your judgment over what's right, or it's like this. So if you come out of here being able to think strategically about e-businesses, we will have done our job. So you leave with skills that actually matter. So does anyone have any questions about what we just discussed?
So we won't have exams at all. It's just the attendance and the participation and the workbooks.
So your question is, what will you be graded on?
No, my question is, we won't have the written exam.
There won't be an exam in this class. That's correct. Yeah. So this class doesn't have an exam. So to get a passing grade, you will turn in at the end of the semester a workbook with essays, handwritten, and a printed business strategy that you will have created for a business of your choosing. I don't know exactly how long, but maybe like 6 pages, 12 pages. I don't know. We'll see how much it takes to describe each portion. But that, you turn those 2 in, and if they have all the components that are required, you have a passing grade. If you want a higher grade, then you need to have shown that you've been participating in the process of creating those 2 deliverables. Does that make sense? Okay. Other questions? Okay. If you do have questions that you come up with later, then just make an appointment with me. On the syllabus, there's a link. It says office hours. Click on it. You'll be able to schedule an appointment. If we do have if you schedule time with me, all that means is that time we'll meet on Teams. So you can tell me if you would prefer, or based on where you're at or whatever, if you'd rather have an audio call or a video call. And I'll click on your name in chat, and I'll click on the call button, audio or video, and we'll talk. We'll have up to like 20 minutes. Do that anytime you want during the semester. If you come in during that 15 minutes before we start the main module, you can ask your questions then. You can ask the questions after we do our 60-minute module. We can talk during the break. But if none of that works, anytime, just go and schedule time with me and I'll be available for you. But please, unless we talk today, unless you already have a good idea for what you want to do, and we have a little conversation about it today, please contact me sometime before our next class next week. And that's it. Unless you want to stay and talk about your case study that you want to do, I will see you next week.